Within northern India you have New Delhi, and within New Delhi you have the much older Old Delhi, and within Old Delhi you have Chandni Chowk, and within Chandni Chowk you have the Shanidev Temple, a Hindu temple. This is you can see the triptych up here of this Hindu temple, and I just want to point out some various things around here. Just go through some of the details. So around here you'll have the swastika within the fence, what we call the swastika design. You have up here the chariot, and here the chariot also. As the people are entering, they are ringing the bells, and just one of those things is that. So this is the god right in here. I'll try and pick it up with the changing colours there. We're now looking into the dham or a dham of the temple, and the deity within here is possibly Sri Shani Maharaj Ji. Now this is the Shanidev temple. Now Shani would relate to Saturday and relate to the planet Saturn. And let's just note right now that above this dham, this abode of God, we have Surya Dev, Sri Surya Dev, the sun god, also with the chariot. And Surya is also known as Ravi. Ravi is the basis for Ravivara, or Sunday within the Hindu calendar. There are further Hindu gods attached to this temple also. One of the Hindu gods, and you can see with the lotus in here, you have the central pillar on the lotus right there. Now just pulling out, so from this direction up here with the chariot, you can see the top aspect and bottom aspect to the pillar, in a way, chariot. So I hope that's reasonably plain to see, that you have Surya, the Hindu sun god, within the pillar right there. And of course, with Christianity, you basically have the same thing. You have God travelling in a pillar. At one stage, God is within the burning bush as well. So you have the foliage within that bush that's a pillar-like in a way also. I'll just rant a bit along the lines of the Bible, just within Revelations and within Ezekiel's vision you have the throne, and then about the throne you would have the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac. About the throne you would have the 24 participants, of course relating to the 12, just like Jesus at the Last Supper. And then of course at the Last Supper they talk about going into the house of Aquarius. The throne of God would be in the centre, of course, of the zodiac, if you will, and that's where the sun is. You know, this is the sun god aspect, although there would be an interdimensional aspect to this, but the sun god aspect within the Bible, that for whatever reason, the anti-Christian types, they have an aversion to this. But it's a beautiful thing that ties in with Hinduism and other religions and so forth. As an aside, I'd just like to point out with this image that you have that plane right there, and you know this image was inspired by the writing within the Bible, and that with that plane you have the sort of throne above, or the participant above, and then the creatures below, and you can see that in a way in this depiction also. Creatures below, that you have that plane right there, and you know this image was inspired by the writing within the Bible, and that with that plane you have the sort of throne above, or the participant above, and then the creatures below. Another aspect is that you have the chariots with the foliage, and you see this continuation sort of through, and in a way, as I said, a reminder of that burning bush. I'd just like to point out here with this Hindu depiction of what looks to be Shani, that you have the whole chariot configuration there within the aura. Okay, so I've mentioned aura. The Freemasons would certainly show the aura in certain ways, various ways. Here within the monographs from the Rosicrucians, they certainly talk about it in here, even with the auras there on the cross, but I would certainly suggest, but in here also, various writing to do with the auras, practicing to see the aura. Couple of pages over, here we go, the aura of the flame, how to, etc., you know, practice manuals. On the subject of the magic ritual scenario, greater scenarios, whether you have, don't get caught up in the numbers, as I always say, whether 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, you know, 12, numbers up from there, no problem. Don't get caught up in that. So you usually see the energies going into the center from various chakras or the hands, but also you would have the scenario with the circle as well and going around the circle. And if you look carefully within this depiction here from the Rosicrucians, you can see the hands there and the energies would go around. Within Harry Potter, you can see the exchange of etheric energy from the hands. As everyone should know, each of the individuals in the magic circle would be imbued with a different, one of the different elements, and there's more than 4. It goes up and up and up. Now, of course, within a magic ritual scenario, there could be just flames there, like the fires, but each fire would have a different imbuement of an element. So within the Bible, just reading here at once, I was in the Spirit. I was in the Spirit. This is not, you're not in physical mode here. You're seeing things beyond what you do in the physical mode. I saw a throne. So at once I was in the Spirit, I saw a throne, blah, blah, blah. Further down here, we have before the throne burned 7 torches of fire, 7 torches, but there's a 7-fold aspect to these torches. So imbued, part of it would be imbued with 7 different elements. Of course, the 7 would relate to the chakras also. So within the writing here, among other aspects, you have the cherubim here. Now, you know, you have shape-shifting, all the rest of it. As the modern shaman has told me, you know, there are various other entities that come into the ritual and assist the ritual, and so forth and so forth. This is not just human, it goes into non-humans as well. And then there's the possibility that the actual human forms, the light bodies, are shape-shifting as well. So there are all sorts of scenarios that could possibly happen. But beyond that, here we have now the hands and the etheric fire in the hands. Don't look at the coal part, you know, that's for people who read this book and think they're Christians and all the rest of it, but really they're not. They don't know. Really, they just don't know crap. This is an occultist's book, the Bible, and all the rest of it, when it really comes down to it. So you have basically the magic ritual scenario, and you have the cherubim there. So within here, you have the fire between the wheels and the fire between the cherubim. By the way, the wheels, very possibly in this case, relate to the auras also, because wheels within wheels, the auras within auras, the different layers and levels and so forth, kind of like the Merkaba in a way. So, but within here you have the writing about the fire from between the wheels, from between the cherubims. So this energy, this fire, this etheric fire, this flow, sort of going around between the participants, if you will. And indeed, without going into this anymore, we'll just listen now, and in this case we're talking about the 3, and Peter Paget will talk about the energies going between the individuals, and they can be human and non-human.
Whenever 3 shall meet, my church is there. Not my quote, somebody else's quote, you know who I'm talking about. If we've got 3 people, this is my best art. Their 3 beingness, I'm not even going to say mind, brain, I'm just going to sort of invent a word. Their actual being, your being, is at any one time both receiving and transmitting energy. That energy interacts with the people around you. As you are all sitting here, you are to a degree in tune with each other, I would hope. You seem to be in tune with each other. Hopefully I'm in tune with you. And if you take three people and you put them in some kind of proximity to each other, physically, within about 6 feet, they will be interacting in their energy fields. This is referred to people in very general terms as aura. An aura is a series of density lines in energy, like a magnetic field, which extends around all things. And we're talking plants as well, we're not just talking mammals. Indeed, you know, some crystals have auras. If this person is transmitting, and that person here is picking it up and transmitting, and this person here is picking it up and transmitting, can you see that you've got a cycle that is then amplifying all of that energy? So by having a minimum of 3, or any function of 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, you are going to have an amplifier, just like this box of tricks back here, which is operating the mic, which I'm not using. You are going to amplify your intent.
Further within the Bible, within Ezekiel's vision, you have basically the chariot throne, the aura around the throne, various aspects, the seraphim, the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac, and of course the sun god in the center of the fixed signs of the zodiac, in the center of the zodiac. And indeed, in earlier times within Christianity, they were a lot more honest about this. The Bible is obviously an almost infinitely complicated alchemical text, multi-layered, written by either an occultist or occultists, be they human, non-human, or a mix of both. The rich mix of the Bible reminds me of the rich mix of the English language. The scene described in Ezekiel's vision, I would suggest, is more of an interdimensional scene. And I keep talking about, and in a way, interdimensional scenes within occult practices also, brought about by further entities. And indeed, if you look at the images here and within the aura, you will see various sort of forms formed. And I also talk about this with architecture. Now, just as the Bible dances around sacred geometry and various numbers in an occult fashion, this happens within Hinduism to a certain degree also. And indeed, as far as Surya goes, Surya, the sun god, has 108 names. I'll point out some interesting observations from these names. One name is Riksha Chakra Chara. Translated, this means the one who moves through the wheel of stars. Another name, Pushkara Shah, which means the lotus-eyed one. Another name is Luna Takila Daitya. Translated, it means the destroyer of all demons. Urya Vaya Bavarupayukta Sarathi, which translated means the one whose charioteer has a form without a pair of thighs. And this one is very interesting. Udhat Kirana Jala, which translated means the one who produces a lattice of rising beams of light. Isha, the Lord. Up here you can see the auric space, greater auric space with the famous 3, and then in a way the pillars of Jachin and Boaz, the auric state with foliage depicted around the mage in the centre, if you will. Further up here, another kind of mage reading a book within here. There's a few themes on this temple. With the lotus here, you have the fire, water, sun well configuration. No. Now, on this temple, you have the theme of the bells, not only at the front but also at the sides. From the 2012 Olympic Games you had the bells, and I think there's a whole lot to this as far as things astrally go, as far as the sound, as far as the forming of the bell in a light form. There's the pillar right there in the centre, but also you have the bell and the shell right there. I think that's the concha shell, as part of what is being shown here. Now I just want to show the lion emanating out of the central pillar right there, and you can see it through there. So this is the same as you see, of course, elsewhere around the world for people who are on the ball. So further, the chariot right there, further the bell. So the bell and the shells are represented in particular on this temple.
Just a few comments to finish up. Previously I did a video on the bent pyramid at Dashur in Egypt, and as it happens I picked up a stone there and I gave this to a fellow researcher here in Sydney. I also gave a Pacific cat's eye shell, or Shiva shell as they're known, from India. I gave that to a guy who has the channel SGD, Sacred Geometry Decoded, on YouTube. So it's kind of funny how I ended up producing the two videos regarding these two regions, or with the shell on this temple anyway. It all sort of ties in, if you can see what I mean there. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll leave it at that. There's lots of other things I could point out. I'd just like to also say though that I personally regard, and as the Freemasons say, sacred symbols come from other dimensions, and enough of them and enough people have talked about the further entities and all the rest of it, that with the nations across the world there are so many similarities, and I see more similarities than I care to point out, and that if things are further dimensional, you don't need to travel from one part of the world to the other. If it's interdimensional and there are further entities communicating and demonstrating things through light, assisting with giving us our religions and so forth because they're so similar, all of these similarities and congruences across the planet, people don't need to travel. I would certainly suggest there is more going on. I never hear of people talking about this notion, but nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed the video. Goodbye for now. Also with the chariot. And Surya is also known as Ravi. Ravi is the basis for Ravivara, or Sunday within the Hindu calendar. There are further Hindu gods attached to this temple also.
One of the Hindu gods, and you can see with the lotus in here, you have the central pillar on the lotus. Within northern India you have New Delhi, and within New Delhi you have the much older Old Delhi, and within Old Delhi you have Chandni Chowk, and within Chandni Chowk you have the Shanidev Temple, a Hindu temple. This is you can see the triptych up here of this Hindu temple, and I just want to point out some various things around here. Just go through some, try and pick it up. With the changing colours there.
We're now looking into the dham, or a dham, of the temple, and the deity within here is possibly Sri Shani Maharaj Ji. Now this is the Shanidev temple. Now Shani would relate to Saturday and relate to the planet Saturn.
And let's just note right now that above this Dham, this abode of God, we have Surya Dev, Sri Surya Dev, the sun god of the detail. So around here you'll have the swastika within the fence, what we call the swastika design. You have up here the chariot, and here the chariot also. As the people are entering, they are ringing the bells, and just one of those things is that. So this is the god right in here, right there. Now just pulling out. So from this direction, up here with the chariot, you can see the top aspect and bottom aspect to the pillar, in a way, chariot. So I hope that's reasonably plain to see, that you have Surya